Hello.
Hey Tom, how you doing?
Real good. Got into a good area now.
All right, that's good. Yeah, we had Joe Rice on earlier, and so I moved on into a new segment. So, what the hell is going on in Oregon right now? As we
Uh,
talked earlier, everything seems to have calmed down, but not really. Um,
Not really. No, there's an undercurrent here. The feds are still around. They're in hiding, but you see them every once in a while. They'll come up on your tail end of your rig and kind of move in on you where you can't see the headlights, and they back off. And they just play these stupid little games and follow you for miles and miles and miles. Just a typical game.
all right, real quick for the listeners that don't know who you are. Everybody knows your face now because you're like freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
But this is Tom Davis. Tell us who you are, dude.
Hi, Tom Davis out of Riley, Oregon. I live out here in Harney County. Good friends with the boy before he was just assassinated. Let's call it what it is. Assassinated by the federal government. And the way of shut down the movement of getting rid of the corruption in the United States. We're not an anti-government outfit. All we are is acting for good, law-abiding citizens to be in our government, not corrupt government officials patting their pockets.
Well, definitely. So anyway, let us know what's going on in Harney County now that the
Uh,
media attention is gone. Let us know.
uh, yeah, most of the media is gone. There's a couple still hanging about. OPB is kind of sticking their nose in the Oregonian newspaper, which both liberal outfit preaching the propaganda of the government. We are trying to put on a music festival here to help the Hammonds and the Ranchers and the Bundys and that. But now Steve Drafty's trying to shut it down, saying that it's not wannabe. It's going to provide another takeover of the refuge and all this stuff. But yet at the same time, they put on what they call a bird festival to celebrate the birds that brings in a lot of viral freaks out of Portland and all these cities and that to start pushing their law and their agenda down our throat. And it's just typical liberal stuff. They don't want the truth. They want to keep people in the dark and to lie to the fact of corruption and the BLM incorporated and by the federal government.
Wait, do you see what's the forward movement, Tom? I mean, what's the forward movement? We've seen you at a lot of protests. I mean, I have to say, I've seen your face at more protests in the last couple of months. And for the people who are watching, this is Tom right now. This was our interview we did with, I sent Sherry out there, Read Out News, to cover for us. And I mean, really, what do you think the next step is? I mean, there has to be a next step.
The next step is to take over the federal lands and have it back in the state and Harney County, that we control our own lands, we control our own destiny, and to get the money coming back into the county. Right now, the major industry in Harney County, besides ranching, which the government is trying to eliminate with all these Endangered Species Act, and the environmentalists trying to shut down ranching, is government. We got the BLM, we got U.S. Forest Service, we got the tribal people of the DIA, we've got all government agencies, and that's our major money. That's the major population of Harney County. And Harney County is controlled, 69% of the land is owned by the federal government. So it's hard for our kids to stay in this country. They leave. We'd like to bring our county back to the people so the people have control of it. We're not taking it away from people. This whole public land concept the federal government's trying to pass off to people is bogus. The government's shutting down land for people. They cannot go onto it. The refuge is a prime example. You cannot just go onto the refuge at any time. It's unauthorized entry. It's prohibited. So you just can't go onto it. And we want it to be open to the people to partake in the bounties of Harney County and recognize that we are the owners of the land, the people of the county, and the people of the state. And the federal government just oversees all that without the control of the federal government that's so prevalent now in Harney County.
So, what's the next step, Tom? What is the next step that we need to do? I mean, in your opinion, I created a website called OperationAmericanSpring.us. It's kind of a 2.0 of something that we already did. I'm literally pulling teeth to get anyone to get involved because they just don't want, and they're all scared now because the federal government has, very clearly shown us that if you actually really fight for your rights as an American citizen, you're probably going to get shot dead, or end up in solitary confinement or whatever. I mean, in your opinion, what is the next step? What do we got to do? What are we going to do?
We've got to wake up Americans. We've got to wake up Americans that the government, as our great senator and congressman Wyden and Murphy has stated, professed that the Constitution is the virus, and anybody that believes in the virus must be exterminated.
Hey, Tom, hold on a minute. People are waking up in droves and chunks and huge matters. I'm watching it going on right now. Okay, so waking up is not the problem. It's getting them out of bed to do something. So how do we do that?
That's the big question. We're going with, I work with a gal out of California where you do a lot of journalism reports on the Cowboy and the Lady on Facebook and Twitter and several other sites. And we're trying to wake up to people to the honest truth that is happening here. This whole incident in Harney County was basically a setup by the federal government. They knew about it in advance. They set up the Bundys and that. They opened the doors to the refuge. There was no refuge takeover like the government tried to portray. The government let the people go on holiday. They were told to go on vacation 4 days prior to the takeover. So how did they know it was coming? Well, they knew in advance. They had it set up. This was pre-planned. The guy with the refuge manager went down there and unlocked the doors and left the keys to the refuge right there so the Bundys could come right on in. An open door. That is not trespass. In the legal definition, legal terminology, that is not trespass. You have invited them in. Then we had Sheriff Ward calling the Narrows and telling the Narrows not to call 911 and make it a police matter. There was a convoy of people coming down on that day. So do not call 911. So there was a whole complete setup to take the Patriots out. This whole movement of the federal government was to kill Americans. And now we've got to wake people up to the truth. Our next movement is to be aware and to vote in good standing men and women that do stand by the Constitution and does not give the Constitution lip service. Good law officers need to be found and put into offices, law-abiding constitutional sheriffs, state police, city police, whatever you want to call it. And we've got to get rid of the UN. The UN has to be removed from the United States. In building, in personnel, everything removed, kicked out to the trash where they belong.
Well, yeah, I have to agree 100%. You can't see this, but in the background for our listeners, I'm running the video that, Sherry came out and did with you out there at your ranch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, but beyond all of this, and we dig back and we dig and we dig and we dig and we go back to Bundy Ranch and all this kind of stuff. We see a huge smackdown going on. Now we don't see this smackdown going on over Ferguson. We don't see this smackdown going on over Occupy. We don't see the smackdown going on over Baltimore or any of these places.
Trump. Say Trump Towers right now.
Yeah, I'm watching that too on a different computer. We don't see that going on. We don't see any of this going on.
You know
for
why?
for the left, the left wingy, whatever. I'm not political in a lot of ways, but I'm political in other ways. I'm not really right wing or left wing or anything. I just believe in the truth and freedom. And so, that just kind of, that messes people up. And,
Yeah.
but, we're looking at all this, but, why is half of Ferguson not in solitary confinement? Why is
Because
most of Baltimore not in solitary confinement?
mm-hmm.
Right, and me and you agree. I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say next, and it's it's because these guys in Oregon actually were making some sense, right?
Right. We found emails from Governor Brown to Governor Brown from the environmental movements telling her she better get control of the situation because she's losing the high ground. The people are starting to see the truth. Then we had people out of Grant County get in touch with her, telling her where they can make the kill to ambush Lavoie and those guys coming up to Grant County. We have the same type of people working to remove Glenn Palmer from sheriff's office. Their corruption, they do not want to lose their corruption. Sheriff Palmer has a UN-free county. The Oregon State Police, after they murdered Lavoie Finnegan, made the comment. Cop number 8 made the comment about we did not want them to get to Grant County because Grant County is a UN-free zone, and they believe the same as Lavoie and the Bundys do. So we have corruption in our state big time, and it's all controlled by the environmentalists and people that is looking to benefit. Look how much millions the Environmental Association makes off lawsuits against the ranchers, against the loggers. You're talking businesses, big businesses that's unfortunately tax-free entities, so they don't pay taxes even though their CEOs and executives are making multi-million-dollar paychecks a year.
Yeah, I must agree. Sorry, I was responding to something in the chat room. It's like people talk about FEMA camps and all that kind of stuff. And we can skew sideways into that. But quite honestly, I think the only FEMA camps in America are the cities.
Yes.
All of the FEMA camps that we hear about. Actually, I have a story about that. I'm not going to go into that right now because, but it still ended up with the death of a friend of mine, who worked in putting all that kind of stuff together in, in Big Sandy, a federal prison, putting a FEMA camp in over there, ended up dead. But, those camps are not made, they're designed for, 800-900 people, most of them. They're not designed for us. They are designed for the elite. They are designed for, the more important people that they think is important. Cities are the FEMA camps. And unless people figure that out real soon, me and my wife, I used to have this job in which I had to go all over the country. And, we began to notice, and even before that job, my band was going all over the country. And every time we would come to a bridge, starting in about 2001, in which bridges were getting replaced over and over and over again. And we would go look at these bridges. And then a couple of bridges we went under. And I'm going, what is that giant chain link about? And hold on a second. So anyway, we would go under one of these new bridges, and I would be like, "What's all that chain link?" You know, there would be this literally 3-inch around chain link, in this box, and I would get up and look. Finally, we stopped, and I got up and looked, and there was this chain link, and there was this box under it that said, "Do not touch explosives." All right, and then we got really interested in this, and then, you know, in our own city of Louisville, they started rebuilding, and they built this bridge. There is a bridge coming out of Louisville on absolutely every major highway coming out of Louisville, Kentucky. And if you drive down it long enough, you will notice that there will be a bridge. And the bridge goes over nothing. I mean, it's not a river, it's not a ditch. It is clearly something that was dug. So we stopped. I got under the bridge and looked. I seen the same link. 2 literally 3-inch around chain links and a box that said, "Do not touch explosives." So those are your FEMA camps, folks.
Yep.
Because what they're going to do is drop your escape. As far as I'm concerned, they can drop your escape at any time. Anyway, go ahead, Thom.
Yeah, what you're talking about is study Agenda 21 and 30, and it talks about everybody living in city type of environment so they can control you. Everybody's removed from the land out here, and the world is to feed us. We're destroying some of the most productive soils in the world so that the elitists can have their precious little hunt lot. Remember, go back to England back in the 18, 19 centuries, where they would kill peasants that was hunting deer or even a pheasant to feed their family, because that was property of the crown. We've got here in the United States a BLM. If you look at the BLM and look at their structure, the BLM goes back to the crown. Our land that everybody calls public, that this is our public land, does not belong to the people. It belongs to the federal government, Inc., which goes back to the crown. So in all actuality, it's just like Canada. It's crown land. It belongs to the crown.
Well, not just that. It's a debt. It is a debt instrument that is being used to float loans from other countries, and all these other countries are now going, "Okay, you're broke. We're done." And you know, when you see these countries like China and Russia that have decided that the U.S. dollar is not their main instrument of debt, which it has been, you know, the world instrument of debt has been, you know, the U.S. dollar for, you know, what, 100 years, maybe more. And now we're seeing that change going down. So, you know, they're going to start calling in their debts. And
my only question on that whole process right there is, what about the debt these countries owe us? We give them billions, trillions of dollars a year to pay this. We give them. And they never pay back their debt.
But, Thom, we give them that. You know, there's a difference between a loan and just, here's some cash. Yep.
And that's the problem, is let's stop giving money to people, and you owe us X number of dollars, start paying back your loan, and we'd have no debt. We borrow from China to give China money back for free?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
What type of stupid, idiotic BS is that?
Yeah, exactly. You know, actually, if we took all the money, I'm not a socialist in any way, but let's just look at this for a second. If we took all of the money that we give to Israel, all of the money that we give to the Middle East in any way, all of the money that we give to certain Russian countries, all the money that we give away to Europe, we could actually take all of that money and really just end all kinds of poverty in our own United States. We could pay for education for everybody in the United States. We could feed everyone that is hungry in the United States. We could stop this and turn a whole lot of things around in the United States, because I do believe that with most Americans, if you go, here, we will help you fix this without interest. We can help you fix this. Let's get you off the street. Let's teach you to do something, some kind of trade, help you start a business, and you just go do that business and go make your own money. If you screw that up, well, you're an idiot, and then you're lost. But still, all that money that we're wasting giving to other countries, we're not loaning this money to countries anymore like we used to. Like during World War II, it was a loan. And of course, we forgave all those loans.
All those loans.
Right. But we're just giving it away now. You know, so why aren't we giving it away to help our own country?
Yep. And another thing we should do, all these people that live off of the government, let's send them to Mexico and let the people that want to work come back. And let the Mexicans want to come up here, they can come up here and let ship all our welfare down to Mexico. Let them learn what life is really about.
Well, yeah, Thom, I'm a tobacco farmer, and I've never had a white boy ever, not once, last beyond noon. You know, I have migrant workers that come in and cut tobacco. I check green cards according to the law because I have to, but I don't even care, quite honestly. They work fast, they get it done, they get paid, and the craft's in my barn, hanging and drying. So, you know, I mean, quite honestly, what the hell happened to the work ethic in America?
We took it out when we stopped letting the kids work in the strawberry fields. We made these child labor laws and made these children precious little things that can't work. We've got laws they're trying to pass on ranches where kids can't help out on the ranch that they're part of. We've got this mentality that, the poor innocent children. Look at Obama. 26 years old, they're still considered a child on your parents' insurance and that. We've got to get back to, you are part of the family. You work with the family. You're not this precious little king that sits there and is treated like royalty.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it just never freaking ends.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we end this, dude. I mean, it's
beyond me.
It's beyond us all, but, the protests seem to be what we need to do. I saw you up at the protest in Portland. There was a lot of people there, but I was working with protests all over the country that day, and you guys had a lot of people there, but generally, all of our live streams of the protest was like 6, 7, 8, 9 people. I mean, really, is that all that cares?
Yep, and then you had on the other side, you had the government paying people to show up to picket and protest, calling welfare rent, just screaming at us, calling us names, wanting to fight, and all this. We had Suckling with Biodiversity, his whole purpose is to sue the government to create a profit, and everything. Yeah, a friend of mine just said what he was, but I ain't gonna repeat it online. And but you have these people that just live off the government, live off the lawsuits, live off the government. And us ranchers, we can't afford to sue. They break us. As environmentalists and the BLM says,
You can sue us all you want. You can take us to court, but we will win in the Ninth Circuit Court. That is our court. The corruption that's why they want to Cliven up here in Portland. It's the corruption in our court system. Our judges are corrupt. They get paid for prisoners in the retirement system, and the more prisoners they ship, the more money they make. Corporations.
Well, yeah, Tom, not just that. You're the only state in the United States that has no bail or bond system.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, it's like, and I tried to tell these guys this when they first went up. They didn't pay any attention, but it's like you're literally occupying Guantanamo, because when everybody gets busted, arrested, etc., you are in a Guantanamo situation. Because there is no bail or bond system in that state. I think you're the last state up there in Oregon. Are you the last state? I'm not sure. I'd have to check. But it seems like you guys are the last state that actually has no bail or bond system.
You know what's funny about this whole thing? We got political prisoners all throughout the United States that Obama and the government's put into prison. But at the same time, Obama lets loose generals that swore to kill Americans, no matter where the Americans are. That's kind of messed up, how the government works. They're holding Lavoy, Cliven, and all those, not Lavoy, I mean Ammon, Cliven, and all their brothers for nothing. They knew about the protest going on in the refuge. They invited them down to the refuge. They opened the doors to the refuge. They killed a man off of a criminal complaint. The worst thing in that criminal complaint is one lady was wearing a BLM shirt at Safeways, and two guys yelled out she worked for the BLM. That was the most criminal thing that was on that paper. Turns out the lady saying she was a citizen of Harney County was Armstrong, which was the prosecutor with the FBI that was filing the charges. It was all set up, lies, from beginning to end. It was BS, pure BS. I'll try to refrain from the real word I was thinking, but, it's unbelievable. Well, I've got to get off here, Hawks, and I've got to go.
All right, no problem. I want to thank you for your input and everything you had to say, and I'm sitting here looking at the chat room. Everybody agrees, dude.
Tell the American people that we've got to come together as Americans. We've got to come together as Americans, or we'll fall divided and we'll be slaves to the government. This elite society they want to go back to the imperialistic rule, where you had your kingdoms and you had your serfs. The serfs starved to death while the kings ate like pigs at their trough. And that's what they want to go to. And we've got to break that.
Yes, they will.
Well, you have a good day, and have a great talk with y'all.
All right, thanks much.
You bet. See ya, Hawks.
Bye.
I'm trying to get it all set up.
All right, this was our actual interview with the person you just heard right now, Thom Davis, and I'll go ahead and run that.
Are you there? Okay. Dan and I are going to take turns here on camera. We've got some sun. How's our glare? Are we doing all right? Okay. Well, we're here with Thom Davis. Okay. Y'all framed out? You got people gathering to hear what you have to say. That's what. That's it. Why don't you tell us about your place here first?
Okay, but we raise bucking horses and we just got started on bucking bulls. We got our first bull calf laying right there.
Let's walk over and take a look at him. We can look at everything this way.
And that. And we raise bucking bulls and that now. Getting started, my son's taking over the business. And that. And just getting started with our herd of bucking bulls. We got 80 head of bucking horses. And we just shipped the load out to rodeo practice at the college. We do a lot with the college. And that's one of our studs over there beyond, standing the hay, eating out, pigging out.
Which college do you work for?
We work with TVCC. I don't work for, I just help out.
My apologies, I misphrased that one.
Yeah, we just help out the kids. You know, the rodeo industry is based upon the youth coming up. And if we don't help develop the youth, we won't have a rodeo. So we do a lot of rodeo Bible camps with the kids, showing them, you know, the scriptures and God's word and how it can correlate with rodeoing. We do a lot of the college and high school rodeo type stuff, and that, providing good horses. We've got several layers of horses. We got from our A string to B string, C string, depends on how the kids are. Like smaller kids and that we ship. My son's girlfriend wants to get him to get started in bucking ponies, so we can go down to even to the peewee rodeos with bucking ponies, and that. So it's.
I don't know a lot about the bucking ponies. I can only tell you about the mutton busting.
It's similar. It's after the mutton busting, and then they go up to the horses and that, and steer. They ride steers or they ride cows. It's just getting the youth involved in rodeo, so the industry don't die. The industry stays on because if our youth don't do it, all these old guys, you know, we're all getting older and that, and so we got to keep the youth going. And it's just like football, everything except we don't have big corporations backing us like the football leagues. Our Cowboys, my son is ranked right now in the his league, third in the college rodeo league, and we do a lot of that type stuff, a lot with the youth. My son wants to do the business, so we built up a business, and he'll take over the business whenever I retire in a couple of years.
Well, that sounds, you know, like the American dream.
Yep, and that's what we're afraid of is our American dream is going to be taken away by government control.
Okay, and why does that make you afraid?
Because the government's trying to steal all this land. Without the pasture, we're buying or leasing what you'd call private allotment, private pastures. I won't do no BLM. I won't do no government lease. But once the government starts taking away all the public leases on public lands, it's forcing more competition and higher rate of pay on the private per AUM. An AUM is an animal unit month. Per animal, you pay so much money per month. And once they start forcing this in, it's going to take us more money to run them. And when it gets non-profitable, it's not worth doing no more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not looking to be rich. We're looking just to sustain the horses and sustain the cows with hay and feed during the wintertime. So
and pay your bills.
And to pay the fuel to go to the rodeos. We're supplementing our bills and that with paychecks. I work out and my business partner works out. So that helps supplement our income and that.
How big of a spread do you have here? This is nice land.
This is an investment property I bought, and it's 10 acres. It's just an investment property that I'll turn around and resell.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold a piece, 800 acres, and a 320. I buy places and I turn and resell them, and make a profit to build bigger. My goal is to end up with my son having about 2,000 acres of his own to raise my grandchildren on. Got to keep those grandbabies into rodeoing and horses.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I want my grandchildren to have the same chance he did. He started riding horses when he's 2 years old. I went out and had a saddle made up for him, and he started riding at 2 years old, and he's been riding since.
So do you know Dwight and Stephen Hammond?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you known them?
I first met them when I first moved here after the Air Force in 1989.
You were in the Air Force?
I was in the United States Air Force. I came down out of Canada. I was born in Oregon. We moved to Canada. And me and my twin brother came down to join the United States Air Force, and we were stationed in Lackland, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Couldn't get off Cheyenne, Wyoming. We was what they called a mobile fire team, which was an emergency response team to respond anywhere in the world. There was 44 of us, and we were the first of it. We started, and then we stayed there as trainers.
Thank you for your service.
You bet. But I figured if I'm going to join the military, I'm going to join the best in the world. So I came to the United States. And now it's so discouraging to see what Obama and the politicians have done to our military. Have castrated and made them skiers, and they're unable to do anything except whenever it comes to America Inc., which we see in Harney County right now, the corporate America that is here to take over our land for profitability. They say it's for national monuments. They get everybody, oh, we're getting all this land for us to travel. No, people, you will be cut off land, just like the refuge. The refuge has signs there that says, by permission, no entry except you. It's a no trespass sign. I forget the exact word they have on it, but you cannot trespass on certain parts because that's government. Only government officials and government people can trespass on that land. The general public can't. I had people that kept cutting the fences and pushing my cows in there, and we'd go in and get the cows, and I had the sheriff's office show up, and the fish and game people down here, the refuge cops, they'd show up and tell us to get off the land, that we're not allowed on there, even though we were going after our cows if somebody cut fence and turned our cows into there. So it's when people think of public land, you got to stop and think, if the government does not want you to go on it, it is not public land, it's government land. The government owns it, government controls it. If they don't want you on it, they won't. They're trying to create a buffer zone that will go from Mexico all the way through Canada to Alaska. That will be a no man's zone. You won't be able to recreate or nothing on there. This whole thing is a start. And you American people, wake up. The government, Inc., is not on our side. We belong to the USSR, basically, United Socialist Republic of America. We've got to get ourselves together and become one nation and fight the corruption that is in our government. From our county seat here, the corruption is phenomenal, all the way to our state house with our governor.
You know, when we went to Oregon, we didn't go there to cause trouble. We did not go there to stir up some stuff. We went out there to report the story. Maybe that's what's pissing people off at me. Because we didn't take a side. I've never taken a side. I've ran other sides of the story. Very consistently. Anybody that's been watching this channel for any period of time knows that. We went out there to get a story. We didn't go out there to get violence. We didn't go out there to get death and blood and problems. We never went out there to try to start a fight with the FBI. We never went out there to create an issue. We went out there to report a story. And when we first started doing this, I don't think a lot of people have seen these old videos, you know, because honestly, these are old videos in this day and time. They're 3 months old. Most people don't see them. They can't find them because they're like 30 folds deep. But really, come on. If you're listening to what we're doing, go dig back. All the way back to when we first started. Not talking about my Harley video, but go all the way back to when we first started with what was going on in Oregon, and you will see. We never went to Oregon to start an issue. We went there to report a story. And Sherry from Readout News did an amazing job.
Jan Brown, all the way.
Oh, and by the way, for the people that want to start drama bullshit over here in the chat or the channel or whatever, and all the things that went down for the last, I don't know, a couple of days ago, you know what? I mean, come on. What's your agenda? Really? Seems to be a lot of people have agendas now.
Ways to the Secretary of Treasury, all the Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Defense, they're all in on this. The Bundy incident is what the government wanted to get gun control.
Mhm.
That's why the word armed was used so much, was for gun control. They say we need to do this for our children. When a government agency says they're going to do something for the safety of our children, stop and think. This is the same government that provides over $500 million a year to Planned Parenthood to abort kids, to kill kids. So we've got to stop and think. They're not doing it for the children that Hitler used for the children, Stalin used for the children, Lenin used for the children, Mao used for the children. It's a form to get sympathy for their cause so they can control everybody. They take your guns, they will control you.
Mm-hmm. Tell us
Yeah.
about your relationship with Lavoie.
It's kind of a funny story.
They like funny stories.
If you were down at the refuge, I went down to give my son a civics class to show him the difference between the occupation of our airport and the occupation of our courthouse, where you cannot cross a line without having somebody approach you with an M16 weapon and threaten you to get you off their property. Our airport and our county courthouse has become an occupied socialist republic. And so, if you work for the courthouse and you're the elite of the society, people look at the imperialistic and socialist society. You have elite and you have the lower class. If you're the elite, you can go where you want. You can go into there and you can talk to them. But if you're not of the elite, you're subservient to the government, which we the people are, then you are not allowed to cross that threshold. So I showed him that, and then I took him down to the refuge. We were meeting with handshakes, with howdies, with good people willing to talk. And then they said, why don't you all go down and check it out? So we went down, and I was standing there amongst a group of people, and there was 2 FBI agents guarding 2 granola crunchers, as I call them, 2 protesters that was protesting our land. Our land is that they were yelling at. And so I walked over there after listening for a bit, and I started a dialogue with this one gal. I forget about Kate something. I forget what her name was. I started dialogue, and she had talking points. And when you pulled her away from those talking points, she jumped right back and started screaming at you on those talking points. And her little friend over here was screaming, our land, our land, our land. And I told her to please be quiet. We're trying to have a dialogue here. And then we get talking, and whenever I stumped that gal again, the little one would start screaming again. So I told her, shut up. And then I was abusive to women. I was abusing women because I told her to please shut up as we was trying to have a dialogue. Well, Hammond came over.
Sorry.
And
but the
he
person you
thought
called
there was
has a
going to be an
voicemail
argument
box that
there,
has
and he
not
wanted
been
to
set up
stop
yet.
it for the media's sake. And it was just a simple discussion
Mhm.
about the land, about our county land.
Can you tell us about when this was?
This was the Saturday before the incident with Lavoie.
Okay.
And Hammond came over and he put his hand on my shoulder and he was going to pull me away from it. But then he said, oh, heck, Tom's got it under control. He knows what he's talking about. So he left.
And listen, folks, I'm sorry. Maureen, as in Sergeant Mo, and Deborah, Scott's other half, they don't respond to me anymore. They won't take my calls or whatever, because Scott Shaler told them not to. I did not realize that these women were that controlled. But apparently, they are.
And let me discuss with this gal.
Mm-hmm.
Then she started saying that we were killing coyotes. Yeah, we do have predation problems, so we take care of predators.
Mm-hmm.
The refuge is full of predators. That's why there is hardly any birds and that comes to the refuge. They go to nearby ranches.
Mm-hmm.
And that, but the funny thing is, she started this, and then she started saying, "I hate cows. I hate cows." And I did a survey of her, from her rubber boots. That is, rubber has livestock byproduct, cattle byproducts in it, to the leather on her boots. And then what was really funny is the coyote fur she's wearing on top of her boots. Here's somebody that was saying protest and that we were killing cows, but yet she was wearing the product from the coyotes and that. And then I looked up in her makeup and all this, and they all have a animal byproduct of some type in that they're saying that they're against. You know, it's Pete and all these people. They do these commercials that shows these poor animals in the cage to get the sympathy of old women to send them money that they barely have to feed themselves. And they create 6 CEOs of them.
Apparently, the email that Scott sent me saying that he told them both not to talk to me anymore was real. Okay, anyway.
The American Humane Society. And out of those 6 people, they're all vegans. They're multi-rich millionaires. And 2% of the funds they get goes to the helping the animal. But the thing that gets me is they leave those animals shoved in those cages, tormented, picked on, so they get the perfect audio or the perfect picture to bring sympathy from the people. How long did that animal stay there, tortured and suffering, so they could get that perfect image to sell to you people in America to make you feel sorry? You get these movie stars advertising for PETA and all these people. What do they do to help out? They live in California. They take all the water to keep their lawns green that could be used for agriculture to raise food for the people. They live in a cluster, I call it a rat trap. Cities are all rat traps upon each other to show their extravagance, their wealth. And yet they come on and they tell the simple man that we've got to do this. And it comes to the point of, it's not what I do you worry about, it's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of gave me, with that gal. But we went into the building, and that Hammond pulled me in the building. And there's a guy sitting there watching me. And I was rolling, and I let some points be known that I disagreed with the government. And then I stopped and I said, "Where's my son?" I couldn't see my son. And so the guys ran out and grabbed my son and brought him in. And he walked in. My son's 19 years old. He's a buckaroo cowboy, saddle bronc rider. And all he lives for is working cows and working horses. He loves working horses. And he's a natural with animals. It's kind of like what you might say a horse whisperer type. But he came in, and Lavoie looked over at him and smiled and asked him how old he was. Son said 19. He said, "What do you like to do in your life?" "Hunter, horses, cows, ranching, livestock, outdoors, being outdoors in the great wilds." And Lavoie says, "I got 2 daughters I should introduce you to. One's 18, one's 19. And I looked at Hunter and I laughed. I said, "See, Hunter, Dad's not the only one that does this." It's just a dad thing.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hey, Hawk, I need to test something with you. Are you there? How's my camera looking? Any better or worse? Okay, I'm talking about right now though, because I covered it up with I flipped the top of my screen down. I'm going to try the selfie stick and see if I can get it a little stable for you. But that means I had the cover of my screen here. Dan, come here a minute, please.
Okay, real fast. We used to do an update with Deb every day, but Scott Schiller has instructed Deb not to talk to us anymore. So I didn't know Scott Schiller was controlling the info. So anyway.
Can you hold that for a second while I get this ready? I needed to test with him what the screen looked like.
She's short, she's saying.
That's not going to be as stable as I thought. It's not as long as I thought. Well, I've got one, but it's not that long. I thought it was longer.
I thought we just might nail it to the pole.
There we go.
That's good.
So we'll
It's
we'll
easy
make
to hold
this
that way.
we'll make this work somehow.
Okay.
Sure.
Don't
That
go far.
thing's. I gotta tighten it up here. How we doing there, Hawk? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, Lavoie, was picking on my son and that, and they were talking and built a rapport. And they had a paper there that you'd give up your BLM allotment or whatever. I don't have no BLM allotment, but I signed that to guarantee Lavoie and Amon and the people of the world that I would never have a BLM allotment. I will never stand for the government intrusion into my business. And I also signed it to stand with the ranchers and stand with Ammon and stand with the Bundys against the corruption of the country. Basically, I swore an oath to them that I would do everything I can to assure that their work was continued and finished and the people of America would be free.
Do you have a copy of that?
No, I don't. No, I don't. It was in the rig that was taken by the FBI. Nah, and
Okay.
everything. But there was a couple of us that signed the papers, and they're good men. But it's a shame that now we've got to be fearful of the government coming in to harass us because we signed a piece of paper against the BLM. The Bureau of Land Management, everybody thinks it's for the land. No, the Bureau of Land Management is Inc. It's an incorporation. If you die and your land goes into probate and there's no survivors of the land, our county judges or county committee commissioners or wherever you want to give them the fancy name, they will turn that land over to the BLM. So the county agency through probate is taking land from the American taxpayers and turning it over to BLM, which the BLM will only pay roughly, I've heard figures between 13 and 20% of what the net tax worth of that property is.
That's tax worth versus real worth.
Real worth.
Right? Okay.
Okay, so if I'm paying taxes on, say, this 10 acres, I'm paying 100% of what the tax worth is. The real market value is on that, what they assure the taxes would be. The BLM on this 10 acres would be only paying between 13 to 20% of it, which is affecting us all. It affects our schools. It affects the condition of our schools. It affects the way our kids are taught, the availability of good curriculum, and it's dumbifying our kids through the government. This Common Core is one of the prime examples of the dumbification of America. You keep them stupid, you can step on them. The way they did in the slavery day, they never educated the slaves. They kept them stupid so they can control them. So they never knew they had a right to be free, to be free men. And we are protesting this to be free men. We had down here a meeting, a big rally downtown at the courthouse. A lot of people showed up. There was on both sides of the fence. The government, the county agents and county workers were on one side of the fence on the sidewalk protesting with a bunch of lies and that they heard from the FBI. Then there was the free people on the other side with protesters intermingling. That was paid protesters from Seattle and Portland with their signs about the refuge. Paid protesters. They were not people of the county. They were not people that was interested in the freedom of America. But they were there. They were mixed in crowd. They were not assaulted. We did have one allocation of one of the people coming through with 3%, 11%, go home. We don't want you driving through. And they hit somebody. They hit a guy. And no action was taken. The state police told them go home. You just had a vehicular assault. And because they were on the side that was against the demonstration, they were allowed to go free, to go home. And this is the type of corruption we're working against. I started talking to the people in the county about issues of drugs. There was an FBI sting going on up in Spokane from LA. They brought a U-Haul van full of cocaine through our county. Our county sheriff's department stopped them for a taillight. They were told everybody was to leave that van go through because they wanted the upper end of it. They wanted the sellers up on the upper end. They wanted to bust those guys, traffickers. They busted that vehicle here in Harney County. They put all that cocaine into lockup. Lo and behold, when the FBI came to claim their cocaine, 6 bricks of cocaine came up missing. 6 or 10, I think it was 6, came up missing out of lockup. Nobody else had reason to be in lockup. Nobody else had the way to get into lockup, but the cops, our sheriff's department. All of a sudden, as I brought it to these people, cocaine was available on our street to our kids. They were supplying to our kids a drug that would basically addict them to the trafficking that's going on. You get in this county, all the cops are off duty from 2:30 to 6:30 in the morning. You can come in at Oregon at Lakeview, you can go through to Pendleton and not have no police involved. But you see all these Mexican lowriders coming through. You see a lot of people coming through that's kind of sketchy. Why are they coming through at that time in the morning? Then there was an airplane that came in loaded with marijuana. They busted it at the airport. They took the drugs into lockup. And lo and behold, drugs came up missing. I forget the exact poundage that was missing, but it came up missing out of lockup. All of a sudden, we had marijuana on our streets. Our kids was being used as the users, and the cops and that our law enforcement was the suppliers. This is a corruption that has occurred in Harney County. I could go on and on. People in Harney County have sat here for years, ever since I've been here. You'd hear, did you hear this guy did this, sheriff did this, did you hear this guy did this, whispering behind the back, but nobody stood up. Nobody did nothing about it. They just accepted it because everybody's afraid of the consequences of speaking up. You guys in the law enforcement, you might come and harass me. You might come and try to give me a ticket for this or try to throw me in jail. I ask you, the law-abiding, honest, fair, constitutional sheriffs and police officers, are you going to allow people to be harassed? Is a criminality that you're supposed to be protecting us from to occur? If you do, then you're no better than the SS that was out to destroy people in Germany, or the people in Russia that was controlling the people of Russia that let them starve to death. Socialism, to all you college-educated young kids that's voting for Bernie Sanders, I will tell you this: study socialism. Study it. Don't believe the crap that's taught to you by the American teachers. We have socialist professors that is against America, but yet they're taking the paycheck with the American people to preach anti-Americanism. Socialism is control. You have your elite party, you have your subservient party. Go to Russia, look at the pictures of the food line, starvation. Look at the Ukraine in 1932 and 1933.
Or Venezuela now.
Venezuela right now. They can't even have toilet paper. Toilet paper is a commodity that is sold on the black market for extremely amount of big cash. This is socialism. It is a control of the people. You give them a little bit, so they barely sustain. But yet they take 90%. Bernie Sanders, free college, free schooling, everything's free. My God, we're going to be the best country in the world. We're going to have free. They're going to take 90% of your paycheck and give you 10%. If you guys that vote for these people, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, socialist, progressive Democrat, progressive liberal, no matter what they name themselves, if you are willing to vote for them, I ask you, I live in Riley, Oregon, send me your 90% of your paycheck and I will make it grow. I will do something with it. I will not pocket it in my pocket. I will not live like a king in Washington, D.C., where they're getting paid millions to do nothing but argue like school kids. That's socialism. You are giving them your money to build for you, but they're not. They're building for themselves. Most of the college kids in the United States don't even know our presidents of the United States. They have a problem with our states. Some of them, President Obama, didn't even know how many states we had in the United States. He did not know how many territories we had in the United States. If you are that college educated, a constitutional lawyer, as Obama professes to be, which I doubt, I think it's a title that was honorary given to him, then you have problems. If you don't know simple things, you don't know the Constitution of the United States, which is written not for your lawyers, not for everybody that thinks they're college educated, is for the simple man of common sense. That's our Constitution. That's this little pamphlet I pack around. And everybody calls it a fake Constitution. It's not the real thing. Study the original Constitution, look it up on the internet, the original document, and study this, word for word, the same piece of paper. It is just in more portable form and not hidden in some museum like the Smithsonian where we cannot see it and touch it and feel it. But it's here in our pockets, where it's by our heart, and we keep it where it's close to us. So America, step up and realize what's going on in Harney County will affect you. I was just talking to a young lady out of Orange County, California. She's got 27 acres. The federal government showed up with armed guards and forced her to let a cell tower outfit on her property to put in a cell tower. It's in courts now. It's in battle. But she was
Armed
forced,
guards?
armed assault weapons to bring those people in to guard them. She's been harassed by 3 cops, sheriff. They've drug her through court. They're trying to steal her land. That's 27 acres in LA, down by LA. It's going to happen everywhere, people. The government does not want you to own private land. And that when you take out a banknote, you're leasing that land. Probably that banknote, the money paid for it, is laundered money from some corrupt organization in the world. The BLM is on that. You look deep into those contracts, you will find the Bureau of Land Management Inc. involved. There is a corruption in this country that needs to be stopped, needs to be shut down. And people, that's the way it goes. As far as natives, that's yelling artifacts. The refuge has been destroyed long time ago by the government. They have used machinery on it. People's walked all over that place. Now, I am for the tribes. Some of my best friends are of the carrier tribes in northern British Columbia. These gloves were made for me out of moose hide.
All right, so you get it. I hope you get it. I'm getting ready to go to bed, and last night I tried to just let it run. The night before I just tried to let it run, and YouTube shut it down. So I'm going to go off air. You can look at this, and if you want to continue to chit chat, I'm going to give you a link here in a second. I got to move over to another computer. I'm going to give you a link, and you can continue to chit chat in there about what we're talking about right now. It's a little bit better control chat, troll free, but please come join us at freedomslips.com. So anyway, we're in pause mode, and I'm going to let this buffer out, and then I'm going to eat some dinner and go to bed. Good night. Thank you very much for tuning in.